I need to begin with prayer this morning. Will you join me? Dear Spirit of Life, we pray for you today in this time when your fragility is written into the fabric of our days and into the incomprehensible which has become part of our daily fare. In this space, made holy and holy by the acts of intention, small and large, which create community, we ask that we turn together to address the critical realities of our times. In the face of fear, we ask that we turn towards love. In the face of loss, we ask that we turn towards hope. In the face of indifference and despair, we ask that we renew our commitment to you, Spirit of Life. May our wearied hearts remain open to possibilities and connections. May our spirits remember their strengths and our wills their fortitudes. For all that we are holding together, may we be relentless in remembering that we are not alone, always held by the binding love that bridges all distance and difference. May we be the ones to make it so. My friends, this has been a week like we have never seen before, in a month like we have never seen before, in a world like we have never seen before, in a time like we have never seen before. And in this tragic and unfathomable time, we all have days where we feel overwhelmed. For me, that was Wednesday and Friday. How about you? Our routines are altered, our comforts are removed, our freedoms are restricted, and they will be further so in the days and weeks to come. Some of us are struggling to be teacher and breadwinner and bread finder all at once. Some of us are sheltering in place alone. Some of us are terrified that our trip for toothpaste or tuna could be our undoing. And we are struggling to understand how a nation with the wealth we have, though unequally spread among us, could be among the most affected and infected. Why shouldn't we hoard toilet paper and flour when our national leaders continue to engage as if this is just another routine political issue and not literally a matter of life and death? We can't comprehend it. Socially distanced in our homes, we can't even begin to comprehend a little bit of it, so we can barely comprehend it here today, Sunday morning, gathered hundreds strong. This week, more of us have heard that people that are just a few people removed from us are starting to be ill. Some of us have heard that people have died. We are realizing that those who have other just regular medical conditions aren't getting the medical treatment that they would expect or that they need. We are realizing that among those dying are younger people in their 20s and 30s, which we didn't expect. We are understanding that in the next few weeks we will see a peak. And I say these hard things here in this precious sanctuary with intention, because I believe that the time for us to understand them is here in this hour when we resolve to be together as a community and to hold them together among us with a tender touch. We are all struggling. So why not just retreat into looking out for number one, me? We can see the stories of those who have. They're all over our news feeds. And yet we're also learning the depths of our resilience and our flexibility to live in ways and do that which might have been impossible for us to imagine doing just a few weeks ago. Some of us are learning what is optional, new technologies or new skills or new crafts. One piece of learning, though, that is not optional is about what it means to be part of the undivided human family. That learning, that particular learning, so essential to our times, touches on one of the cornerstones of our faith, important to us as now, just as staying home is, and will be even more so in the days to come. As Mark Watanabe said so well, we are the ones who believe in science as well as faith, and so we may be in some ways most challenged to suspend our disbelief that we are in this situation which could have been prevented in its extremities. Uncomforted by apocalyptic messages that this was meant to be, we know that the isolation and sacrifice that we all must make is for ourselves. It's a me, but it's also for others. It's also a we. That human intention and commitment will play a large role in how we get through this, just as the isolation that will save me is also the isolation that will save us all. So it is with the scope of our caring. As one of my mentors, the Reverend David McPherson, wrote recently, we must reach a point where we live according to the truth that we are all one human family. This is our message for the world. We know that there is more love somewhere. There is more love somewhere. There is more love somewhere. And though that hymn that we just sang comes from South Africa and the movement for liberation, there is also a strong statement of what we believe here as a people. When apartheid made life actually a living and dying hell for people, they sang and wrote this song. And we have a legacy of believing in what Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King named as the great network of mutuality. What he said was this, you remember, we are caught up in an inescapable network of mutuality, tied in a single garment of destiny. What affects one directly affects all indirectly. And this is truly the great truth of our days. All the milk and bread in the world, or the flaunting of rules of assembly or refusals to accept help, will not keep me or we safe. We know this as we share ideas with one another on our 3 times a week lunches about how to order groceries with our neighbors, as we step in to check the comments on our local feeds about our neighbors of Asian descent insulted in our sight, as we donate from what we have to those with less resources. And I do need to say that since I made the announcement at the beginning of the service, I've already gotten an offer for a solar shower. Yay. As we accept the help we need, as we watch some indulge in abhorrent political grandstanding, we are reminded of the dangers of false binaries in our time. We are not the people who believe that bad things happen to people for some divine reason in some gigantic divine plan, but we do know that people choose. I choose, and you choose, and we choose how to live under any circumstance. The awful and awesome days that we live in today say that we must live our life with intention every day, and remember that my best interest is in also holding yours. This is not done in a foolish or self-sacrificing way, and yet together those two halves of me and we complete the whole. We know that this is not a time to live only in fear, although fear is a very useful thing because it tells us to be careful. We know this is also not a time to try to completely avoid the hard realities that are becoming more unavoidable every day. This frightening, searing time bears us down to basic truths, and one is that this is also the time to live in the largest expanse of love. By making choices, by staying aware, we refocus on essentials, that we and others be safe and well. We are learning many things indispensable a few weeks ago we could probably live without. We are basking in a time now with people that are really important to us and finding new ways to connect. We're realizing that we can see the blue of the sky, not today, not here, but when we're not all running around in our automobiles, we seem not to have quite as much air pollution in the Bay Area as we've come to see. We're understanding that technologies that we might have been afraid of a couple weeks ago are sanity-saving now. And it's probably worth getting someone to have a really close look of your forehead for about 5 minutes on your first, or your nostril on your first Zoom call, so that you can actually have connection with people that is so soul saving. We are understanding that asking for help is a way that we can be part of the we, because it keeps us from being in places we should not be. That giving help as we can in a distant sort of way gives meaning to our days. We are understanding that the inequity of resources means that some of us have these options and others are struggling to find food and water and cleanliness so vital to surviving this virus. These times were foretold by the words of the great Jewish sage Hillel the Elder, who said, "If I am not for myself, who will be for me? And being for myself, what am I? And if not now, when?" Indeed, my friends, if not now, when? The I or me in us also needs to be heartened and inspired by the small acts we can take. Picking up something for a neighbor if we're already going to the store, calling someone when we're feeling disconnected because they probably are too, being generous with what we have, smiling when we pass one another on a walk, because actually social distancing does not mean being rabidly antisocial. Expressing gratitude to those serving us in all walks of life and caring for the grocery stalker or the taxi driver as much as the doctor. There is more love somewhere. There is more love somewhere. Just this week, in this community, we've had people tending to their neighbors, calling the people that they haven't heard from, helping some of them get vital, life-saving help. We have opened our doors to winter nights if they want to come in a couple weeks. And just last Sunday alone, we met the financial costs needed to eliminate the role of volunteers. We have many making the cloth face masks that we know are not adequate for medical personnel, and yet which too many people directly working around people who are ill are being forced to use because no other masks are available. We've had people donating to the discretionary fund so that we can get people that we love in this community the food and the gas and the other utility help and other things they will need. We have people now able to donate through that same drop-down menu in our website to our new virtual community pantry, which the board approved last Tuesday night. There is more love somewhere, and we are creating it through our choices here every day, through active and intentional engagement and connection to both the me and the we. In that same spirit, let us this week, as the news gets harder and our fears mount, make sure that we can take the time to hear and be open to someone whose experience of sheltering in place is not exactly the same as our own. When some need more time alone because they're actually with people all the time. When some are working harder than they've ever worked, even if it's from a computer screen. When others are truly isolated and feeling lonely and need a little more of our time. When some are fearful because of existing health conditions or disabilities or new developments that otherwise would have been standard and not threatening. When some are out of work, financially insecure, or without adequate shelter or food. When some are already grieving and feeling this collective grief as too much to bear. When some are experiencing bizarre, rageful comments or gestures because of their appearance or their ethnicity. We can also think about those in the jail system in this county in conditions that will certainly spread the virus at an alarming rate, who have been ruled in other counties to be able to be released. And we can contact our supervisors and ask them to do the same thing that our neighboring counties have done, but which ours has not. And in a week when we mark Transgender Day of Visibility on Tuesday, we can also listen and bear witness to those who are fearful of how they will fare in a world of more isolation, hate, and triage. We can, I know we can, hold and still feel the needs of others. There is more love right here in our hearts. Elie Wiesel, who developed his keen observations of human nature through enduring the Holocaust, wrote, "The opposite of love is not hate, it's indifference. The opposite of beauty is not ugliness, it's indifference. The opposite of faith is not heresy, it's indifference. And the opposite of life is not death, but indifference between life and death. Such is so true in our days." Choices will be made in the coming weeks as we approach this time as it peaks in our area. We are going to get heartbreaking news before we gather again in this sanctuary. And when those fears come, when that news comes, when that grief comes, we may wish to lash out or withdraw so as not to think about test shortages or ventilator shortages or leadership shortages. With hard choices and hard realities ahead, would it not be rational for us to just not make the easy choices? So one clear one is that the choice between me and we, that's a false dichotomy. We don't need to make that choice because each of us is part of the precious greater whole. That's what our religious ancestors meant when they spoke of an all-embracing love. And that is what we are so called to live into in our times. So as we approach this time in the cycle of the virus in our community, we will not be gathering at all in this place next week. Not even this small, dedicated, very socially distanced and careful group of us. We will be completely virtual, so watch the website and your email, call your neighbors for what that means. I want us to remember that me and we, and I wanted to say it for the last time from this sanctuary, because we know that we will be together no matter what form it takes. Because our technology has allowed us to do this for a couple weeks, we now need to take the next step, each of us, and recommit even more strongly to sheltering in place, even more strongly to not leaving our homes unless it is vitally, vitally necessary. That daily trip to the store for sanity might need to become every few days. That contact that we said was okay for walking or getting together might need to be suspended for a little while. And our service, completely virtual next week, might have a few more bumps and bruises in it, a few more little hiccups, but we'll do it together as a sign of our faith because we know we can do this hard thing. This community is full of amazing and wonderful people who've been making truly inspiring choices about how to use their time sheltering in place. So just yesterday, 2 days ago, we put out a call for people to show what they've been doing while they are confined in this situation. And as I end today, and with gratitude to my son Liam, who put all these images together, we didn't get all of them in, but we're going to we'll have a use for the rest of them, don't you worry. We want to share just a sampling of our we. This is worth celebrating. There is more love somewhere, and a whole lot of it right here. Delilah and Espy said it at the very beginning of our service. Together, we can change the world.